Hey, we're back at the top again today on the road to Pokemon Sun and Moon in week 42, and man, has time been flying, as we are almost 2 weeks away from Pokemon Sun and Moon. So if that doesn't get you hyped up, I don't know what will. I think I know what could get you hyped up. A little bit of a discussion and speculation. Isn't that what we are all here for? Because just last week we had another trailer drop revealing the final evolutions of the starters. It's actually more or less confirming them because they were leaked many months ago and we had them in hand, but we didn't quite know if these were true. Turns out that they are. And now we have a little bit more information to go off of to figure out how competitive all three of these Pokemon are. Of course, I'm talking about Decidueye, Incineroar, and Primarina. And of course, I will be going in that order, by the way. So how will this go down? Well, I will go over the possible moves it could get via stab, and then any sort of coverage. And then I'll be going over the possible hidden abilities and stats. Of course, this video is entirely opinion-based, so if your opinion differs, let me know what you think the moves, the hidden abilities, and the stats would be in the comment section below. But with that, let's get into this speculation. So we will be going in the order of grass, fire, water, because that's how they have it in the games, and why break up something that works so well, you know what I'm saying? So with that, we will start off with Decidueye, who is the Arrow Quill Pokemon. The typing is Grass Ghost, and the ability is Overgrow. Now, how Decidueye attacks is, of course, via the arrows. That's how it shoots off the arrows, and that's pretty much his gimmick. But how does this work for competitive battling? Like, what types of move it has? What the hidden ability could it be? Well, if we look deeper into it, you can start to see what it could possibly have. It becomes clearer. Now, when I think of arrows, I think of sharp stuff. So, my best guess is the top two grass-type attacks it could get, other than the ones that we've already seen, such as Razor Leaf and Leafage, would be Leaf Blade and Power Whip. And now, Leaf Blade, of course, is sharp because it's a blade. Of course, Decidueye uses arrows, so I'm not quite sure how this would work. I mean, it could use an arrow as a blade, but other than that, it's a little bit unclear on how exactly that would work. The same thing for Power Whip. I know it does have the hood strings it could use it as the whip, but among that, it's a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit unclear because there really isn't any grass moves that use a quill type of attacking device if you know what I mean. Now, the other two attacks I do have are a little bit less likely because they're more so of filler, but it's the best guess I can do, as we have Synthesis and Giga Drain. Now, most grass types get Giga Drain as well as Synthesis, so I did the most plausible, unreasonable attacks, if you'd catch my drift here. Now, the other thing is, it's Ghost type. We have to pick the attacks out there. And, well, we already know it does have Spirit Shackle, and that is a Ghost-type physical move that only Decidueye can learn, as an opponent hit with this move will become unable to flee from battle or switch out for an ally, as it does say on the Pokemon Sun and Moon website. Now, it gets a little bit tougher with a Ghost-type because there aren't very many attacks, especially physical attacks, as the only two attacks that are over 70 base power for physical attacks for Ghost-types would be Shadow Punch and Phantom Force, both of which aren't really necessarily useful in battle, so it was a little bit more tougher to pick, is what I'm trying to say. Of course, I have Shadow Sneak, Shadow Ball, and Grudge. It's not really a good enough variety to choose from, so like I said, that one is a lot more cloudy than the grass type for sure. But we move on to the coverage moves I could get, and there's a little bit more of an explanation here. There's a little bit more stuff that I can show you. Of course, we do have the move Twin Needle as the first one, and the flavor text on that one is the user damages the target twice in succession by jabbing it with 2 spikes. This also may poison the target. Now, that actually works because a spike could also be used as an arrow, or vice versa, because you can just shoot 2 arrows off and then it works like that. The problem is, in battle, would be that only does a max damage of 50, of course, without the crit, but at least it's physical bug type. So, I mean, it might work, but I'm not sure if anybody would use it in battle. Now, the other move that has a high possibility chance would be Drill Run, which the user crashes into the target while rotating its body like a drill. Quick critical hits land more easily. Now, the thing about this is, they could use the drill instead of its own body. They could use it as an arrow. Now, that would be a pretty wicked coverage move. But would it be? Yes, it would, because then you'd have something for fire types to attack the fire types with, for example. That's my immediately just best thing I can think of for this. Now, there's other moves such as Drill Peck and Roost because it comes off of a bird, you know what I mean? Because it's an owl, it was originally grass flying. So imagine a ghost type having Roost. Now that is mind-blowing, especially with the option of it possibly having Synthesis. That's even crazier. But then we move on to, once again, the unclear move, which is Spike Cannon. Like I said, with Twin Needle, it does work pretty well with Twin Needle, so I can imagine it working with Spike Cannon. So that's about the best thing I can think of. As for its hidden ability, I have 3 options. 2 are already in use, actual abilities rather, and then I have a hidden ability that I have made up to just possibly fit the motif of the gimmick of all 3 of the starters. The first one is, of course, Sniper, and that should already tell itself on why it should go, because it's an archer. It has to have precise aim, and if it doesn't have precise aim, it's not really going to have a good aim to actually hit the target. So I feel like Sniper, of course, Sniper is an ability that ups the chance to crit a lot easier, if I remember correctly. I can double check on this right now. Yeah, I actually got that wrong. It powers up the moves if they become critical hits. For some reason, for the longest time, I always thought it upped the critical hit chance. I'm surprised that's not a hidden ability in itself. I did learn this many months ago, but for some reason my mind's still locked in on the other one. So that would be an interesting possible hidden ability. Plus we also have Insomnia, of course, because you need to have the focus of an archer to actually get said precise aim. Now, the other hidden ability is a hidden ability called Aim Lock, where, well, just think of it this way. You have the ability No Guard, which makes 100% chance that you hit all of your attacks, but the same thing can be said for your opponent. If a Pokemon has an ability No Guard that is on the field, every Pokemon that is on the field will be able to hit their attacks 100%. Even Fissure. That's the problem. So what does Aim Lock do? Well, what that is, it's basically just makes the same effect, but for only you, because you have the aim. You are trying to aim at the opponent, not the opponent trying to aim at you. So it should not help the opponent at all. Now, as for its stats, if we do look at the website, the Pokemon Sun and Moon website, you can see that it says that its speed is astonishing, but not so more than its precise aim. Now, there's no accuracy stat, at least not yet anyways. I'd be surprised if they made that an actual stat, but it enables the arrow quill to pierce a target through and through from half a mile or more away. And a skilled Decidueye can actually boast acrobatic curved shots, so it's actually pretty interesting. So using that information, we could see a possible high speed. You can see it on the screen right now, as we have a 70 in HP, 95 in attack, 70 in defense, 90 in special attack, 85 in special defense, and 120 in speed, matching a 530 base stat total, which all 3 of these in my little rundown will have 530 base stats, because it seems like that's the average for most of the starters. So that is my little bit of a speculation. But what would be the possible sets that it could use? I could easily see Roost being an option, but why would it be? If it's a fast attacker, I can't really see Roost being an option per se. Maybe you might get some defensive output, maybe, only if Decidueye has a higher defense stats than I have listed here. Because I honestly feel like it's a fast attacker. Stuff like Leaf Blade, Shadow Sneak, and Drill Run for coverage too. That is my best bet, because of course you're going to have both stabs, and then a coverage move, and then some other wild move that you can put on it, like Pain Split if you want it. I could see this thing getting Pain Split, but why would you use that over moves such as Roost, if you know what I mean? I did kind of ramble on about Decidueye there, but when I think of competitive Pokemon, I literally want to ramble on about it, because it's probably the best thing about Pokemon in my opinion, especially with a whole bunch of new Pokemon here to completely shuffle around the metagame completely. But now we move on to Incineroar. I'll try not to ramble on for 8 minutes like I did just a few seconds ago, but we'll see how far we can get. in a shortest amount of time possible. So Incineroar, we've already seen it use Flamethrower, and we already know it has Darkest Lariat for fire and dark respectively. Now, looking at its gimmick, that being of a heal wrestler, so we're looking for stuff that's a little bit more like a cheap way of things. That's what I got from from what I've read at least. So how I see this going is that, well, first of all, I could easily see Blaze Kick, and Flare Blitz being possible options. As I mean, it's a wrestler, so kicking is obviously the option. I could have also gone for Fire Punch because, I mean, punching and kicking, that goes hand in hand with wrestling. But honestly, Flare Blitz lookalike, it's another thing because it tackles an opponent, and that's more vicious, like Incineroar looks. That's what I'm thinking. We also have Will-O-Wisp for the status move, but I mean, I think that is only one out of possibly two status moves, so there wasn't really much to go on. As for dark type attacks, we already have Darkest Lariat, but I'm trying to think of stuff that it could possibly use as the wrestler gimmick, because Sucker Punch is a good example. That I could easily see Sucker Punch, especially with those hands. Do you see those hands of his? I would even be Sucker Punched by just looking at him. We also have Knockoff, and then this is the biggest one, because we have a move only used by Pangoro, which is Parting Shot. And I could easily see that, because it has that cold exterior on the outside, and you know it would want to drop a Parting Shot on it. And that would make a lot of things crazier, as this is actually kind of like a U-turn, except it doesn't do any damage. It's a switching move, so you can get that initiative, and that would be really very amazing to have on this Pokemon, as having more widespread moves, such as, like, I love U-turn and Volt Switch, but there's always that missing third one that I should have, and Parting Shot is only known by Pangoro, if I do remember correctly, so it'd definitely be a pretty good idea to have it. Now, as for its coverage moves, it's a little bit easier here, because the pseudo third type that these guys have, as Decidueye does have the flying type that it can have at its disposal, but Incineroar looks like it might have a lot of fighting type attacks as its third quote-unquote pseudo type. So I have a little bit, some fighting types rather, type moves, and we do have Cross Chop and Superpower, as, I mean, just look at it. Look at those hands again, and then Superpower as well. And look at its body. I mean, it literally looks like it could use those. And then we also have Earthquake, Poison Jab, and then Swords Dance as its status move, which, I mean, honestly, that looks like the best thing I can think of. But then again, it is Fire Dark type, but it still looks fire fighting as well. So I'm kind of having to put it in that situation. I mean, I know that Emboar also kind of had those same moves, but I mean, you gotta look at it this way. You gotta look at it with a glass half full, honestly. As for its hidden abilities, odds are the highest chance, as long as it's not a new ability like they did in Generation 6 with Greninja, Delphox, and Chestnut, is Tough Claws, because like I said, just look at those hands. How could you not think that that is not a Tough Claw? The other ability that I could easily see would be Moxie, as Moxie, I mean, look at it. If you're a wrestler and then you just keep defeating opponents, you're going to get that just feeling of confidence. You can just get through everybody and nobody could stop you. Honestly, just think about it. But as for its possible ability, would be Momentum, is what I'm naming it. As, of course, if you defeat a foe. It's basically just a revamped Moxie, but I believe it's like more like you speed boost if you knock out the opponent, because once again you get that confidence, but it's a different stat. That's honestly the best I could pull from the motif of a wrestler. But as for its stats, once again, it does have 530 base stat total, but its HP, I feel like it's more of like an Emboar type of Pokemon, but a little bit less defensive and like on the HP stat, because it's not really a bulky pig or a boar. It's actually just a tiger that's once again standing on its feet, because apparently Game Freak likes that. But HP is 90, of course, with attack of 132, defense of 88, special attack and special defense are 72 and 73, and speed is 75. So it's still not that fast, so it'll definitely be able to get countered by a lot of things with that sort of speed, but that 132 base stat total would be pretty wicked. Now, for its moves, moves, the set, I could easily see it running the most. I mean, Choice Banded would be pretty tough to face off against, in my honest opinion. But with Flamethrower, and I'm not sure if Darkest Lariat will be able to do anything on sets, because we don't really know anything about it, because Darkest Lariat, he didn't get a base stat, base power, for example, so it's a little bit tougher to call. But I could easily see moves like Sucker Punch and Flare Blitz and Knock Off and Cross Chop, Superpower Earthquake. There's just so many attacks that I feel like this thing will be able to have that there's going to be numerous possibilities. And you will definitely have to watch out for Incineroar on the battlefield. Now, Primarina, the Water Fairy type, definitely has its motif, that being a singer, a siren. So we have to think of more voice and noise type of moves when we think of the possible move set that this thing could have. We already see it using Sparkling Area, which is a new move it gets, which I believe it cures the burn. Now, how I see this move working out is for the think of Smelling Salt. Remember that move? Or Wake Up Slap. It cures both of those status conditions. What if that could happen? Now combine that with Scald, and that is just insanity if that is the case. That would be so wicked, man. But we've already seen it using Bubble Beam, and there really isn't any good status move for the water type, so Aqua Ring is the best thing I can think of. Now as for the fairy type, obviously Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam is going to be at the top of the list, because this thing is clearly a special offensive Pokemon, for sure. But we do have two other moves, because, once again, Fairy type is a new type, so there really isn't that many variety of moves to go over. So I only have those two types of attacks, because it's a very tough call to choose from, with those being the best attacks, that being Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam. Those are the only two attacks I have for the Fairy type, as we have Moonlight and Sweet Kiss as the other attacks. Now, for coverage, the pseudo third type we have is the Ice type, because, all water types have access to Ice Beam. At least, most of them anyways. So, with that, we have Ice Beam, Freeze Dry, Psychic, Hyper Voice, and Wish. As, of course, Ice Beam and Freeze Dry just go hand in hand, because, it's all, like I said, all water types seem to get some type of ice coverage. Psychic seems more closer to coverage that it could possibly get, as things like Sylveon and the Florges get it. So that was a good guess. Now we go back to the Siren motif, as Hyper Voice is a definite option, as I feel like this one will get it, because like I said, it sings, it's a siren. And then Wish is just me throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. I don't know what about Wish is, but maybe it might, but that's the best thing I can think of. Now as for the hidden abilities, the top one that I could see it getting it would be either Serene Grace. Now, I want to hold off on this. Now, think of it this way. This would be horrible if this thing got Serene Grace. Let me explain why. Because there's no Pokemon with the move Scald that has Serene Grace. Off the top of my head. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comment section below if I am. But we also have Sparkling Area along with that. Now, Serene Grace with Scald, that's a 60% chance to burn. Combine that with Sparkling Area, a possible move that heals the burn, it does double damage to heal the burn, and that is a wicked combo that is insanity. A 60% chance to burn is just mind-blowing, and that would be a Pokemon that everybody would hate, especially with that high of a chance to burn. That is just destruction waiting to happen. Another hidden ability that I could possibly get would be Pixelate, but I'm sure everybody is tired of Pixelated Hyper Voice, and they just want to get something else along with that. Now, the other hidden ability I have that I made up is actually, I didn't actually make it up. It's actually coming from Pokemon Insurgents, aka Pokemon Zeta and Omicron, which is Amplifier, which boosts the power of sound-based moves. Now, that's actually definitely plausible in this situation, as, there's a whole bunch of sound moves. Heck, they even have another ability blocking sound-based move in Soundproof. So I could easily see Amplifier actually being a hidden ability, or just a new ability in general. Now, as for the stats, I'm thinking of more of a sleeker and a speedier Milotic, so keeping its attacks attacking, or rather its bulky stats, but having a little bit more attack and speed, if you know what I mean. And how I see this as would be 95 in HP, 65 in attack, 80 in defense, 95 in special attack, 100 in special defense, and 95 in speed, wrapping it up to that 530 base stat total. Now for the movesets we could possibly see, we could easily see that, once again, if my theory is correct, and Sparkling Area does double the damage when burned, healing the burn, we could easily see Sparkling Area, Scald, Ice Beam, and then Moonblast. That's all you would really need, honestly. Just think about how badly that would work, especially if it does have Serene Grace. Oh my word. That is just ridiculous. But with that, that will wrap up this stop on the road to Pokemon Sun and Moon. If you want to see me go over another Pokemon in this way, let me know in the comment section below on if you want me to do it and what Pokemon I should do it. If you did enjoy, don't forget to drop a like from the top, because without your support, we cannot reach the top. But also stick around, because we have more stops on the road to Pokemon Sun and Moon, including the final Promise Day, November 18th, 2016, where we traveled the lands of Alola. And if you don't want to miss any of those stops, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. But with that, I thank you for watching. I hope to catch you back at the top later on, because that is how you do what.
What are we at? Oliver Queen will save this city. Deceive. Crash Coast.
You ever gonna doubt Daruma 7? Are you ever gonna doubt Daruma 7? Daruma 7 takes lives!